Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my ranking of all 22 MCU films from Iron Man all the way through to Avengers Endgame. It's been over a year since I did my last Marvel ranking, and that's because I really wanted to wait until the next big, impactful film. Thus, this ranking is coming after Endgame. As this is a ranking of all 22 films back to Iron Man, a possible spoiler alert for any and all of these films, except for Endgame. I'll try not to put any spoilery material in my explanation there. But a reminder, this is just my own personal opinion, my own personal list. I'm sure yours will vary greatly, and I look forward to hearing what your rankings are in the comment section down below. But again, this is just how I personally enjoy the films. So, we have a lot of films to get through. We should probably go ahead and just get started. At number 22, I have Iron Man 2. Yeah, the follow-up to Iron Man is my least favorite of the bunch, mostly because it's kind of an incoherent mess of a script. We just have so many ideas thrown in here, these different sub-stories and plots. This film in particular is the one that feels like a setup to have the films to come, rather than feeling like it's trying to just be a good film in and of itself. There are some good sequences. Whiplash gets a decent enough sequence, though he's a very underwhelming villain. Of course, the introduction to Black Widow is really cool, and it's still fun. There's still some watchability in it, but it's definitely the weakest for me in the MCU. At number 21, I have The Incredible Hulk. Doing a film solely based on the Hulk is a very difficult task. We've seen it done twice within the past 20 years, and both times haven't been great, that's for sure. And honestly, Ang Lee's Hulk at least had some style, some visual flair. You could feel the director really trying with the material. The Incredible Hulk, I would say overall, is a more well-rounded film and is better executed overall. But it honestly just feels a lot more generic than that Ang Lee Hulk. And it feels so disconnected, other than like one tie-in from the rest of the MCU, that it's pretty easy to forget it's even part of the universe. So it's there, it's serviceable, it's alright, but it's certainly not one of my favorites. At number 20, I have Thor: The Dark World. Now, I'm rocking my Thor shirt here because he is my favorite Avenger, period. And Thor: The Dark World has a lot of problems. Mostly, the script is just blech. The comedy is pretty terrible, especially like Kat Dennings. Oof, no thank you. And we focus so heavily on, the whole Jane Foster thing. It just, then none of that works at all. Plus, our villains, the Dark Elves, some of the most boring, bland, who cares villains in the entirety of the MCU. But there are still a lot of really fun moments for me. I really wish we had done more with Sif, but it was really cool to get her for the moments we did. Zachary Levi in there. But also, really the chemistry, the banter, the relationship between Thor and Loki shines through heavily in this film in particular. And it's so much fun. And that's really what lifts Thor: The Dark World up above the other two for me. But there are just so many problems. It's undeniably one of the weakest MCU entries. At number 19, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This one honestly just didn't really work for me. The splitting up of the team was just so convoluted with all of these storylines, all of these big revelation type storylines with several of our characters, that it just felt mashed up. It felt like too many ideas thrown into the one single pot. Plus, Drax is like pushed forward in this film more so, and that really didn't work with me. His relationship with Mantis I thought was actually terrible and really kind of cringy, actually. But his comedy in this film never works. It was terrible. Plus, Rocket really borders on just straight up unlikable in this movie, which is a disappointment after how great he was in the first film. But there are some good moments. I think the opening with Baby Groot is wonderful and hilarious. Groot actually steals most scenes he's in. I do think the relationship between Gamora and Nebula worked pretty well here, and it was actually nice to see that start to turn. But for every great moment that was in this film, I thought there was a one to accompany it. At number 18, I have Ant-Man and the Wasp. This film is fine. It is serviceable in pretty much every single way. It improves upon the original in the action department. The Wasp really elevates what we're able to do, what we're able to accomplish. She has some really great action sequences here. But it recycles some of the jokes, and the format of the jokes is so similar. But it's never as funny as the first one, and it's never as fun as the first one. The entire Walton Goggins subplot was just terrible. Completely unnecessary and unneeded. Plus, our side characters aren't given nearly enough to do. We don't give enough screen time to Michael Pena and the gang, and they were a big highlight from that first film. Plus, the relationship with Scott Lang and his daughter was one of my favorite aspects, and that was really given a backseat. So there's fun action. I like the story that we got. It's good, it's fun, but it's just not quite memorable or extraordinary in any way to make it further up the list. At 17, I have Iron Man 3. Now, Iron Man 3 has a lot to really love here. First of all, I really enjoyed Tony Stark having to deal with this PTSD from the first Avengers film, and his entire character arc was pretty great, actually, in this film. Plus, we get some really cool action sequences. We get Pepper Potts making it in, getting fully suited up to come to the rescue. That entire multi-Iron Man suit thing at the end was actually pretty cool. But honestly, that whole Mandarin twist was a mess. That's the quickest way to explain that. And as much as I liked his callback in a recent Marvel film, that kid, he grated on my nerves a little bit by the end. Plus, we have some clunkiness within this dialogue and the concept of the entire story itself. So, Iron Man 3 boasts some great things, including the score. I actually think this score is pretty fantastic. But there's also quite a few dumb things in this film that keep it from breaking into the top ranks. At number 16, I have Captain Marvel. The most recent origin story we've received from the MCU, Captain Marvel, also marks the last solo film we've received. It was fun. I had a lot of fun with Captain Marvel. The 90s nostalgia was great, and I really actually enjoyed Captain Marvel as a character. I love that dry wit and humor. I thought she worked. I know it didn't work as well for others. It worked for me. Plus, a lot of the action set pieces are a whole lot of fun. It was great to go from the Earth setting into this outer space type of fighting. And I really enjoyed what we do with the Skrull race in the film. Plus, Ben Mendelsohn is fantastic. That de-aging on Samuel L. Jackson and Coulson were both fantastic, especially Samuel, though. He looked amazing. And his chemistry with Brie Larson is so good that it really carried the film. I think the script was not great. It was the weakest aspect to the film overall. And it just felt a little bit, all right, that was fine. There were no wow factors in the film for me, and that's what really kept it from the top 15. So a perfectly serviceable, good Marvel film, but one that didn't wow me. At number 15, I have Captain America, the First Avenger. This film features the best Marvel romance of them all. Peggy Carter is such a great character, and the chemistry between she and Chris Evans' Captain America is fantastic. Plus, it's a good underdog story. It's a lot of fun getting to see Cap coming up through the ranks from this really skinny little boy, and his relationship with Bucky really takes off in this film, and getting to just get the feel of him as a character in his own era was nice. However, it definitely goes into cheesy superhero mode. With the villains and all of this over-the-top aspects of it all, this feels a bit like an old-school superhero movie. And the cheesiness really keeps it from elevating beyond that. Thus, it's number 15, but it's still a lot of fun. At number 14, I have Ant-Man. One of Marvel's funniest, just pure fun films to date. Ant-Man was a blast. And a big shock, because were any of us looking forward to an Ant-Man movie? But Paul Rudd is just infectious. He was so funny, so lighthearted, really enjoying himself in the role, and it was a blast to be involved with. As I mentioned before, it's definitely light on the action. We get a few cutesy little action sequences, but it doesn't have the wow moments that so many other Marvel films have, including some of the smaller solo films. Ant-Man just wasn't able to quite bolster those. But the relationship between Paul Rudd's Scott Lang and his daughter was fantastic. Probably the best child-parent relationship in the MCU. It was just done so well. However, I felt the whole Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly chemistry wasn't that strong, and I actually think that the Wasp's character, Hope Van Dyne, was really underutilized and underwhelming in this movie. I also think Yellow Jacket was an okay but very generic villain. So the villain, the love interest, the love story, whatever that was, and the action all come up light, but it's a good time. At number 13, I have Thor. Now, this is higher than I think a lot of people have Thor on their list, but I just have such a soft spot for this film. I really enjoy the first Thor. Now, if only Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman had more chemistry, or, Natalie Portman wanted to be there at all, I think this would be much higher on the list because we focus so heavily on Thor on Earth and his relationship with Jane Foster that it definitely drags the film down. But it's such a funny film. I think it's underrated in the comedic values of what it brings. Hemsworth shines in this film. The action is fun. The comedy works really well. The whole fish out of water is great. And getting to see Thor come in and have to prove himself to himself as well as his father was a really great story arc. So, plus, I really enjoyed Kenneth Branagh and his entire style flair, so I think Thor is a pretty great time. At number 12, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. Tom Holland is pretty much perfect when it comes to being the MCU's Peter Parker, and that really shined in this film. He has so much charisma. He's so funny, and it all just comes effortlessly to him. Plus, I think he and Zendaya have a great chemistry. He and Ned are so good together. I really liked Aunt May in this film, played by Marissa Tomei. And Michael Keaton was a nice, menacing villain. The perfect amount of villainy with this really intimidating factor to him. It was a really good performance. However, I do think that Spider-Man Homecoming struggled to find its footing. It kept feeling like it wanted to go big and needed to incorporate itself, over-relying on Tony Stark, in my opinion, especially having him pretty much take the place of Uncle Ben in Peter Parker's development. Really weird choice. But that tie-in to the bigger Avengers universe and having that Avenger here really made it feel like it wanted to go big, or it needed to go big, yet everything else about it was very small and contained. Plus, I just didn't get the main romance. It really seemed like a plot to get Peter closer in and involved with our villain. At number 11, I have Doctor Strange. Now, this one has certainly risen in the rankings since I first saw it. I've come to much appreciate Doctor Strange. First of all, it's visually just absolutely stunning. I love this world, and I think that's what's really drawn me in to the film itself. Now, while Strange himself is hard to like for a good portion of the film, again, that dry, sarcastic wit is right in my wheelhouse of humor. Now, this love story is super weak, honestly, but I don't know that we necessarily needed a strong love story in this film. It already felt grounded in his internal struggle to become the Sorcerer Supreme, and I think his development and his journey is executed very well throughout the film. Now, if only those villains were anything. I mean, we have this huge build up to this big villain, and it just was terrible. And then Mads Mikkelsen is running around. I don't know what he's really doing. But the whole villain situation was so weak that it really drags the rest of the movie down. But overall, this is a really interesting film that has a lot of great things to offer the MCU. So kicking off our top 10, I have Avengers Age of Ultron. The much maligned Avengers sequel. Age of Ultron has so many good things in it. First of all, it introduces us to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and although they were forced to change the origin stories of these characters, I thought they did so in a pretty good fashion. Plus, the entire Sokovia battle is awesome, and having that really rooted in those new characters was something that made sense, and I thought they worked really well into the entire storyline. We get Vision here that's born out of the film, and he's great. He's wonderful here, and it's a wonderful introduction to a character that we would need moving forward. And I actually thought Ultron was a pretty good villain. I thought James Spader killed it with the voice work. Is he jokey? Does he have all those witty lines? Of course. Maybe I wanted him to be just a bit more menacing, but I thought it worked. And we get great scenes, like the scene with Mjolnir and everybody, like, basically playing Lift the Hammer. Wonderful. So it's not as good as the first. It definitely has some problems. The script is a major problem overall. That romance between Black Widow and the Hulk is still cringeworthy. But overall, I think it's pretty solid. At number 9, I have Guardians of the Galaxy. Another surprise hit from Marvel. A movie none of us knew we needed in our life until we saw it. Guardians of the Galaxy is some of the most fun I've had watching a Marvel film. From the music, that amazing soundtrack, to these really fun, funny characters. It all just gelled so well. Assembling this like ragtag team of almost anti-heroes is a lot of fun. Getting to see them interact and get to know each other. Plus, Groot has some amazing moments in this film, including that final moment of We Are Groot is so good. However, I do think Gamora was underutilized and undersold in this film. And then the end of this with Ronan and the dance battle, I just find personally to be ludicrous. And it really took me out of it. I was like, what in the world are we doing here? But Guardians is undeniably a really good time. At number 8, I have Iron Man. Film that kicked it all off. Iron Man still holds up to this day. Robert Downey Jr. is absolutely perfect for the role of Iron Man, aka Tony Stark. He's fantastic, and he pretty much holds this film up. It's off of his shoulders that we get this really great movie that has wonderful character development for Stark himself. When we do get the suit, when we do get the action, we have Jeff Bridges' villain here. It all really builds up to some big climactic moments by the end of the film. But honestly, I think it's Stark and the heart and care taken with his character and his growth that makes this such a special movie still to this day. Plus, an awesome soundtrack, obviously, with Iron Man thrown in there. Some great sound design, some beautiful visuals. Iron Man, still one of the best. At number 7, I have Captain America, the Winter Soldier. A really fast-paced espionage spy type of thriller action film. Winter Soldier was really the first time that the MCU deviated from a more standard formula that they had built up to that point. This is a completely new genre that just takes place within a heroic cinematic universe. Chris Evans is amazing in this film. Sebastian Stan and the Winter Soldier provides one of our best adversaries, just straight up adversaries in the entire MCU. That dynamic is so good. Oh, it's just executed so well between the two actors, the script, the directing, all of it. Scarlett Johansson is utilized perfectly in this film, and we get the Falcon here as well, who's wonderful. Personally, I tend to like my superhero films to have a little bit more super in them. Thor is my soft spot, but there's no denying a beautifully executed, entertaining flick. At number 6, I have Thor Ragnarok. For me, the funniest film in the entire MCU. I laughed so often within Thor Ragnarok, definitely more than I had laughed in any of the other films to that point. Jeff Goldblum is such a welcome addition. I thought Cate Blanchett killed it as Hela in this beautifully, just deliciously scenery-chewing performance. Oh, it was delightful. Plus, we get the introduction of Valkyrie, played wonderfully by Tessa Thompson, who has quickly become one of my favorite characters within the MCU. I love Valkyrie, and she was fantastic here. Plus, her chemistry with both Thor and Loki was great. We get to see Thor and Loki interacting again, really giving us that chemistry that they've had throughout the entirety of the MCU, and it works so well. Plus, the whole Hulk aspect is amazing in this film. action is big, it's bright, it is powerful, and it's a whole lot of fun. The soundtrack is amazing. I love pretty much everything about Thor Ragnarok. It's just a blast. That's it. It's a blast, and I love watching it. At number 5, I have Avengers Infinity War. Another year, another epic Avengers film. Infinity War certainly lived up to the initial hype. I loved each and every pairing that they had here. This is the best case of splitting our team up into smaller little teams because we just had so many characters that it worked so well. Everybody got their time to shine. My favorite team up was certainly the Asgardians of the Galaxy with Thor joining in with the Guardians. Oh, so good. Plus, Thor's character development in this film in particular is amazing. He got so much of it in Thor Ragnarok as well. But Infinity War really got the Thor highlights. Most notably, his entrance to Wakanda. Amazing. One of my favorite moments in the entire MCU ever. I love it. Plus, the Battle of Wakanda is amazing. I thought the storylines all wove together really well. We have some great performances from Chris Hemsworth, as well as Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland, I think are really the standouts here who give great performances. Now, I didn't think the ending completely worked, but has been helped, actually, by Endgame coming out and us seeing that. And while I thought Zoe Saldana did a great job with the role, I didn't love that Gamora had been basically reduced down to her storyline being somebody's girlfriend and somebody's daughter. And that was kind of her purpose here. Not great. But overall, Infinity War is a huge epic that I could just endlessly rewatch, I'd say. At number 4, I have Black Panther. Look, I know the CGI at the end is not great, but honestly, I don't really care all that much because I think everything else about the movie is pretty fantastic. Michael B. Jordan, in particular, gives one of the best villain performances we've had in the MCU, and honestly, I would argue one of the best acting performances we've received in the MCU. He was so good, and Killmonger himself was one of the more well-reasoned, understandable villains that you are on the border of siding with. Chadwick Boseman, fantastic as T'Challa, and of course we get Shuri and Okoye, his mother Angela Bassett, all of these amazing female characters that just shine through. Lupita Nyong'o in here is wonderful. We get this wonderful casino fight. We get this big epic fight in Wakanda at the end. I just think the script unfolds really well. The action is placed where it needs to be placed. But what I think really reinvigorated me with Black Panther, it's just the world building. This felt fresh. It felt new. Yes, a lot of the same story beats were here for the Marvel formula, but we were introduced to this fully realized, completely conceptual land that felt both authentic to the real world, but still completely within the realm of Marvel. We had the costumes, we had the set designs, everything about Wakanda was amazing, and that went a long way in really pumping me up within this film. But I do think the script was really good, the acting across the board was fantastic, and the action was a lot of fun. Plus that score, oh, one of Marvel's best. The Black Panther is my number 4. At number 3, I have Avengers Endgame. I know, quite the shock to have this at number 3 and Infinity War at number 5. Oh, don't kill me. What an epic, perfect conclusion to the Infinity Stone saga. Endgame gave us as fans pretty much everything that we wanted. Robert Downey Jr. gives maybe his best performance as Tony Stark in the entire series. He is amazing here. Chris Evans is also stellar, and Scarlett Johansson gets probably her biggest chance to shine through as an actress, and it was amazing to watch. I thought her character was so good. Nebula really got a beautiful storyline as well. Really liked seeing the aftermath of the Avengers losing for once and what happens from that moment. We have so many storylines, so much to do in this time frame. It's a 3-hour and 2-minute long movie, and it goes by like that. Plus that end battle scene is just epic. Oh, so many cheer moments, cry moments. You run the gambit. All the emotions are there. What keeps Endgame from breaking into my top two is Thor a little bit. I didn't love how his character was handled. I've grown to accept it a little bit more. I've seen it 3 times now, and I have less problems with it than I initially did. The treatment of Thor is still kind of a bummer to me. Plus, time travel movies are a hard sell for me because I just can't turn my brain off enough to stay on board with them as we go through and we do all these different things, and it's like, okay, hold on a minute though. But really, Endgame is so much fun. It has all of the emotions, and as I said before, it gives us the most perfect finale that it possibly could, that we could ask for, to this amazing 22 film saga. At number 2, I have Captain America Civil War. What a film! I absolutely love Captain America Civil War. First of all, I think the handling of introducing all of these new characters to each other was so good. Everyone got their chance to shine. In particular, I think Black Panther in his introduction was amazing. We have Ant-Man, we have Spider-Man, all these characters coming together for the first time, and it was just glorious to behold. Plus, it was really interesting to see our team divided on ideological issues. And as a viewer, being someone who sided with Captain America when it came to the issue at hand of the Accords, but honestly, siding with Tony when it came to anything personal, it was a really great film in creating such a conflict, even within viewers themselves. Plus, it delivers probably the most raw fight we have had in any film to date from the MCU, with the Iron Man versus Cap and Bucky. I mean, it's intense, it's raw, it's purely emotion filled, and honestly, it's one of the standout moments in all of the MCU for me. The airport scene is amazing, the opening scene is amazing. I love that we're having to face up to consequences like we've never seen any superhero film really do before. Some say Zemo is a weak villain. I say he's a pretty successful villain, though he as a character maybe isn't the strongest. That wasn't the point of this film. I just love Captain America Civil War. I see almost nothing wrong with it. It's that good. And finally, coming in at number 1, my favorite film from the MCU is The Avengers. I had to rewatch this just to make sure I wasn't looking purely through rose-colored glasses. And it still holds up for me, y'all. I think this is so good. So many iconic moments. Of course, that spinning circle shot with our Avengers assembling for the first time is amazing. But we also get the moments like Thor meeting Captain America and Iron Man for the first time. The hammer to shield moment is epic, amazing, iconic. Black Widow gets several moments to shine in this film. The Hulk coming out, the I stay angry line, wonderful. Obviously, Hulk smash as an instruction, and then the Hulk like punching Thor, and then puny God with Loki. Everything is so good. Then we get to Loki himself. What a fantastic villain, because he is good literally any which angle you come at him from. He is a huge threat, and really right from the get-go coming in and just taking on Shield solo, amazing, and really brought the stakes up. And then once of course we descend upon New York, it's amazing. He's playing mind games with the team to get what he wants. It works so well and feels like an adequate threat to get the Avengers to assemble. It's beautifully done. And more so this film than any other in the MCU, they handle the comedy with the action, with the heartfelt character moments and deeper interactions so well. We get so many good just character interactions. So many of the best character back and forths that we have in the entire MCU. And that's saying something after we've been through 22 films. So some people might think it's too jokey, some people might think it's too bright aesthetically, but I think it all just fits perfectly. The tone is pitch perfect to me, and pretty much everything about the Avengers is amazing. It was the first time we saw a team up moment like this in film, and our first really epic movie within the MCU. And for me, it still holds up as the best they've produced. So that's it. That is my ranking of the entire 22 film catalog of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Iron Man through to Avengers Endgame. What did you think of my ranking? And more importantly, how would you rank the MCU films? Leave your own personal ranking and any other comments in that comment section down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!